Devastation.
Hello there, sorry from 17 once again. This is my Transformers Devastation Prime difficulty video walkthrough. This is the second chapter. It is called the Proudstar. We're playing as Bumblebee for the full duration of this guide. However, the very last part of the final mission forces you to play as Optimus. So, I killed Megatron at the end of the game without realising I was playing as Optimus. I couldn't honestly tell you why. I think I was just too in the moment. There's that moment of like, whoa, I'm this guy. And he'd already died, which is always fun. But I really adore Bumblebee. He is my favourite character in the game. It has nothing to do with the Michael Bay movies or the cartoon. It's just I like the way he fights, and I have some really, really cool mix-ups with him. If you could call them mix-up against the AI, which I think you can. Even though it's, you know, they don't have to guess, really. It's just, I put them into resets and then I mix them up. But I would love to see a character-driven action game that utilised fighting game tech. I think it would be really interesting if it had something like that. And you might wonder what I mean. Well, in a fighting game, you have to block high or you have to block low, and there are attacks that do either. If you block the wrong way, you get hit. When you get hit, you are at the mercy of your opponent up until they either drop a link or choose not to do something. I think that is a system that could be really cool. Additionally, things like overheads, you know, things like actually linking combos and like block stun and hit stun and block strings, just all the kind of fighting game stuff, command normals, specials, the way that you input them, you know, prioritizing timing and intelligent blocking. I think if there was a way to do that somehow in this game, or in a game like this, you would have the most amazing hybrid, complex and interesting game ever. And I would love to make that game, I really would. I have no idea how it would be possible, but I know it would be. And it would probably be much more simple than you think. But I don't know. Maybe it's too different, maybe it'll never happen. I hope it does, because I just think of it like this, like Bayonetta, for example. There are times in Bayonetta where you'll attack somebody, especially on Infinite Climax, and they just take it. They straight up take it, because they've got armour, and you don't have an armour breaker usually. Or the armour breaker on that game is something I've not come across, or I've not played it enough to realise what it was. But imagine having an armour breaker, and knowing what it is, and being able to do it on response. Like, you see somebody doing a focus attack, and you just respond with legs, playing as Seth, and you immediately break their armour, and you get a free special on them, you knock them down, you put them back into the mix-up, you put them back into the vortex. Like, wonderful. Now imagine being able to do that on a game such as this. Imagine a wake-up game, getting Yoroki Zemi on a game like this, where the AI has to guess, and the AI is designed in such a way that it does. I just think it'd be so interesting, because I think it's such a cool feature. And the combo system as well. If you have good timing, you should be able to do godlike combos that are crazy and that the computer can do nothing about. But if you drop your link, they just special out of it. Or they throw you. Or they backdash, or front dash, or whatever you have on that game. Like, I think it'd be so fucking cool. And one of the things that people think when they look at it, this kind of idea, and they say that it'll never work, is the perspective. A lot of the techniques in fighting games work because it's a universal perspective. You will always be side on. There's no, you know, ambiguity there. It's not like Tekken, it's not like Soul Blade, where you can sidestep and there's some 3D momentum to it. You know, it's all on the same plane. So you either block left or you block right. There's no blocking up or blocking down. Unless you're playing Third Strike, where you could do the parry system by pressing down. Or if you're playing, is it the Alpha series, where you could block in mid-air. But I don't know how you did that, because I never played that game. But I still think it could work. Like, I think a Souls game would benefit from it massively. And I don't know how you would control it. I think it'd probably work better if the triggers, instead of it being R1 and R2 for light and strong attack or whatever, if it was R1 for high attack, R2 for low attack, and then on the left hand side, L1 for high block, L2 for low block. and a combination of the two. And all you could have is the low attacks could be slower so that you can react to them and change what angle you block. And of course, if you know the movesets, you know that the Claymore does 2 highs into a low. You know the lows can combo into overheads, so you know to block low then block high. Although in that game you'd probably, block and then set up parry, however you would do that. Which it would have to be a different button, of course. It might be press both triggers at the same time on the left-hand side to parry, or to do special shield move or whatever. But I don't think that would be such a stretch to have that kind of thing. And then immediately you have fighting game complexity in a 3D perspective that is not just fucking Tekken. And there's nothing wrong with Tekken if you like Tekken, but Tekken to me is not 3D. Tekken is a game where you can sidestep, and that's it. And I'm not wanting to take away from the complexity, because I realise Tekken's one of the hardest fighting games to play, as far as like wake-up options and all that kind of stuff. It's incredibly complicated, and it is a crazy, deep game, but I mean literally like this 3D, where I have the camera behind me, and I'm running in an open space. I'm talking fucking Power Stone, son. If anybody remembers that game, which you couldn't control the camera, but you sure as hell were in a 3D space. And there is an interesting transition of me hitting the wall. See the damage that did? Not cool. I really don't like those walls. They add nothing to the game. All they do, it's a Chris trap. That's what it is. It's a trap for me because I'm impatient and I run into things. That is what it does. But there's a lot of these little insects around here, the Insecticons, the tiny ones. I like that they're in here, but they don't really do anything, it doesn't seem. They're kind of like a popcorn enemy to kill, and I never really do, because I think they're just getting on with their life. Ooh, that is a collectible. I still haven't got all the collectibles in this game. They're kind of tricky too, you have to... Can we... There it was. Look at that. I'm a baller. Took 2 shots, guys. I am Deadshot. I am no scopes, 420, elite snipers, killers, assassination man. But this is Soundwave. The first Soundwave fight, not a problem. Second Soundwave fight, absolute nightmare. I can't remember if this is the guy who you get an achievement for beating without killing his little shits. I think it is. But I don't know if it's this particular encounter. Suffice to say, I think Soundwave is hard. And look at the damage I'm not doing. If I were to fight this dude now, I could kill him in one combo. Just to show how strong you can get on this game, guys. If you're having trouble, level up. It's literally how it's built. It is designed around the RPG elements, and as much as I enjoy it, it's my least favourite kind of difficulty balance. And you might wonder what I mean by that. It's Fallout 101. In a game like Fallout, the difficulty is literally sliders going up and down. That's all it is. And I'm not going to call it lazy, because I think in a lot of those games they might really put effort into that, but I still think it's fucking lazy. Ooh, we got an SS, guys. No damage, super fast, and we ticked enough boxes. See, that to me looked like an SS fight. It did. And that's what all SS fights should be. They should be quick, they should be fun, they should be cool, but they're not. And it's no guarantee. This is no road to perdition. But here's another one of the... Look at the range on this. No range at all. I'm still experimenting with weapons, if you're wondering. I do not recommend every weapon I use outside of a very powerful sniper rifle. Sniper rifles are so good in this game for doing the shot cancel combo stuff that I'm doing. I don't know if it has a name. Essentially, I'm chaining a gun blast in between vehicle attacks. That was funny. Getting stuck in vehicle mode. But this right here, this particular Insecticon fight is one of the most intimidating ones in the game, because I remember when I first did it and I got beaten up. Now, it's one of my favourite fights in the game, because every time I come here, I have fun. And I think it's because the geometry is not constantly moving, and it's one of those things that happens later on in this game where the geometry is always up your ass. In this, I think it only moves under specific circumstance. But I could be wrong, as I mentioned, guys. I've only beat this game 3 times, and I haven't played it since the launch of Halo 5 and Assassin's Creed, which has been like a week now. And even then, you know, I played it so quickly, it was like the honeymoon period, where it's just a massive blur of sex and festivities, only less sex where this is concerned. I don't know, how could you have sex with a Transformer? Do they have an exhaust? Is it lubricated enough? Do you have to bring your own lube? These are the true questions Transformer fans need answering, damn it. I like to think you can't, just because something has to be sacred, damn it. But if human species have taught me anything, it's that if there is a hole, it is a goal. And as disgraceful and shameful as that is, we just can't help ourselves, can we? Eiffel Tower, here I come. I'll down your face! But here's a couple of Insecticons. Nothing too strenuous. I took a big hit though, so I'm going to have to play a little better. Because this difficulty is at this moment 2 mistakes and it's a retry. And it's never a bad thing, because retrying on this game is so quick, it never feels like you're losing progress or you're getting frustrated. Like, if it was the same as it is on Assassin's Creed, I probably would have stopped playing it, or I would probably not have cared as much, because Platinum appreciate getting back in the game. They really do. Say what you want about the dev company. People like to make out that Platinum have a hit and miss, and I always think, like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you're calling Anarchy Reigns a miss, then you didn't play it long enough to understand exactly what it was. Anarchy Reigns is not a bad game. It's just not as good as the Platinum standard. That is literally the only difference. I never played, is it Eternal Space or whatever it's called, that weird DS game. But apparently that's, you know, pretty cool but not great. And then there's Mad World, which I thought was a good idea, but because there was no grey in it, it made it kind of harsh on your eyes, just everything black and white. And it was kind of, you know, repetitive. It had one theme and it carried it a little bit longer than it perhaps should, but even then it wasn't a bad game. Anarchy Reigns is not a bad game. It truly isn't. I have issues with it, but it's not a bad game. And when you do it in the multiplayer, all of the things that make that game annoying in single player make it balanced in multiplayer. And the only problem with the multiplayer, aside from getting a game, because it's dead as fuck, is the infinites. You get stuck in an infinite, you can't do anything, you know, straight up. But I just think the control scheme, the way the dodge works, the way the specials work, and a way that you can't really cancel into things the way you do in almost every Platinum game, is one of the weaker aspects of it. But it's from a perspective of making the multiplayer, I think, less Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And if you've never played that game, folks, on Marvel vs. Capcom 3, if you're up against a good player, if he touches you, you die. You're dead. There's no middle ground. You are dead. Straight up. Oh, by the way, there's an interesting strategy on this turret. If you get full ultimate and you let go, you can do your ultimate and get back on the turret and kill everything quite quickly. And you can keep chaining ultimates on this particular sequence. I read about it on GameFAQs. There was a guy going on about how he's discovered this advanced technique, and I'm like, really, dude? You think that's an advanced technique? But each to their own, you know. Maybe it took him a while to figure that out. And to his credit, I'd never thought to do it, but as Bumblebee, I probably never would do it, because his ultimate's a bag of dicks. It literally is just a phallic carrying bag of bad things. But I love these shooting sections, because they're designed straight up Gallagher-esque. They're really clever. There's a lot of subtle design going on here that you're not noticing, just with the placements and the spawns. It's straight up an old school shmup right now. And on Prime, it's the most hectic it will be, because the enemies are the most aggressive and they fire the most balls of energy. Well, I really like these moments, and I didn't think I would, because when I get to a turret section on a game on a hardest difficulty, I always have that moment of, oh, I hope it's not going to be bullshit. And it isn't. It's wonderful. And there's your SS. And I've just realised that SS can be attributed to the Nazis, can't it? And I've never put that that reference in my brain before. Not even once. And that's coming from somebody that played a lot of Devil May Cry 3 and tried to rank run that game, which is probably the hardest game to rank run ever made outside of some super eclectic old school arcade game. But this is Scrapnel. He's a bitch, and there's an achievement for beating him without taking damage. He's one of those bosses that once you've fought him a few times, he's an absolute joke, and I love him because he's nice and cuddly. But the combat in this game, if Assassin's Creed Syndicate had the combat from this game, it would be my game of the year. But it doesn't. It really doesn't. Just imagine if it did, guys. Just imagine if Ubisoft hired Platinum to do the combat engine. Oh, God. So good. So good. But who else is making these games now, you know? Team Ninja? what are they doing, aside from ruining Ninja Gaiden? Not much. This is Bombshell, by the way. This guy has a lot of armor. So, Bumblebee's ability against this dude is... Oh, hang on a second. He didn't block any of that. He didn't tank any of that. Maybe Bombshell doesn't have armor. My bad. Yeah, it's the tank guy from, like, Mission 4 who has the most armor. This guy's a really easy guy. But just watch what I do, folks. Dodge his moves, get your focus, and beat him up. And if you get covered in jizz, wipe it off quickly and pretend it never happened. So, Team Ninja, aren't they working on that new crazy samurai feudal Japan game thing that looks really good, that's called like Nioh or something? That looks cool. That looks really cool, and I'm hoping that that's really good. I want it to be nothing like Ninja Gaiden. I want it to be the complete antithesis to that game, because I want it to be its own thing, and I want it to be great on its own merits. I don't want it to be, it's Ninja Gaiden with a geisha girl. Like, I don't want that at all. I want them to step out of Itigaki's shadow and start making great games again. Because, like, he literally made that company great, it seems like, but he's not exclusive, because he's gone on to his own company and he's made that really shit game that I've yet to play. Which I've heard some people say it's not as bad as the reviews were saying. Some people are straight up defending it, you know, White Knight apologetics, and I'm wondering, is it worth the vitriol? Because you're going to find out, guys. I am doing a playthrough of that game, and we're going to see just how bad it is, and it's going to be glorious. But I've got it on my rental system, and my rental service is pretty bad. And you might say to yourself, well, why do you use it, Chris? Why don't you move to another? I've used every rental service that exists in my country, and the best one stopped. They stopped doing games, and it sucks because they were really good. And the funny thing is, I thought they were shitty too, but you know, now I appreciate them so much more because they were so much better than the other things.
Well, that makes me feel special.
But I've got a few games I'd love to get on my rental service. One of them is Shadows of the Colossus, which I think I'm going to be covering on Emulator, because I still need to make a video for that for a Patreon goal for a person who pledged a certain amount. Similar to the Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I need to make a Symphony of the Night video, but every version of that I've got for the PlayStation hasn't worked in my emulator, which is really frustrating. And it's not even a difficult thing. It's just one of those things where sometimes it can be tricky to get things to work. Like I had hassle getting God Hand to work on the emulator because it was running at terrible frame rates, and I know it shouldn't because my machine's powerful enough to do it. And then I changed a few settings and it worked perfectly, but every time you change a setting, you never know what it's going to do. Like, there are many games that I've wanted to play on emulator that when I get it, it just doesn't work. Like, it runs at 7 frames a second, and I put it to the worst possible quality, like fucking straight up PS2 quality, and the frame rate's still in the toilet. And this is not a difficult game. Like, I was running Shadows of Mordor on max, on highest settings. I had Mortal Kombat 10 on highest settings once I figured out how to not have it use your GPU, which was dumb. But just, my machine is capable of decent results. It's not, you know, god tier or anything. It's quite old at this point, but it can play modern games. And this is a PS2 game that's like 15 years old that just wouldn't work. And it's because of the emulation. Like, the emulator is not stable. Certain games just don't work well enough. They haven't been, you know, programmed and smoothened, and it's just one of those things. Because unfortunately, these emulators are not official. They're technically illegal if you've got is it the BIOS? I think that's illegal. It's okay to have an emulator, and it's okay to have the ROMs. It's the BIOS that makes them work where the crime happens. But you know, if these companies enabled us to play these things, or at least got behind these emulators and supported them and got a cut of money and made them a legit thing, it'd be amazing. But they don't, because they're fucking greedy, and I don't understand it. You could allow a whole generation of people who will never be able to find some of these super eclectic rare-ass games an opportunity to play and experience these wonderful titles, but you don't want to do it because you want all the money, and you don't want these people that are working essentially for nothing to share this great experience that you designed, and I'll never understand that. Like, as a game dev, I think I would be like, is it Denatron Games? The people who made Hotline Miami? They commented on the torrent and gave people essentially a crack to make it work, because the torrent that went up was unstable and wouldn't work, and they couldn't figure out why on release. So the people who made the game helped them fix the illegally downloaded version of their game, just so that the people who did play it played the best version of it. Because all they want is for you to... They would like you to pay for it, because, you know, it's their living, but they also think if you're going to play it, at least play it in its, you know, its final form, at least have it once it's transformed. And I think that's just so noble. And it must suck. Like, this sucks. Getting pushed back is a horrible experience in these games, but it happens. The geometry moves, you're getting pushed back by the wind, you're getting attacked from off screen. It's about as miserable as the game gets, but this is a no damage run of this particular chapter. This mission, sorry. So anybody who's looking for the achievement for doing it no damage, this is my particular one. And I recommend coming back here with super overpowered weapons so you can use one ultimate attack and kill the core, but I'm going to be doing it with straight up just bread and butter Bumblebee. And I'm going to use this in ultimate cancel before the shielding comes back on to kill it. And there you go, guys, no damage. Achievement unlocked. One of the tricky achievements in the game, that one. But there's going to be the score sheet come up just now, and it's going to prove that it was all played on Prime, and it's going to show you my shitty grades. This is not to gloat or anything, guys, it's just literally to see it says Prime so that you know that this is as honest as I can make it, because believe it or not, 2015 and people still think that I make fake videos to show people that I'm better than I am, because I have some kind of fetish for lying, having no integrity, and thinking I'm a godly gamer, when it's... If you think that, there's something wrong with your brain.